You see, we're high tech, Kendrick. You see, we got that. You got the drop cord. That's what is hold up the mic, right here. See, we're gonna drop on you. That's like MacGyver. Let me move this back. You did. I think you weren't here when that happened. So I know you'll handle that because you handled this under here for me. I think the screw is thing at the bottom. Yeah, but MacGyver, you got to go what you got to go. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Ed Fields here on Ed Fields Live. We try to, we expose our frailties and our flaws. We don't go, high tech. What'd you say, Kendrick? Kendrick, you looking at it? Why are you looking at it, man? You didn't even notice that. You didn't notice that because it blends. See, that's when you're a true MacGyver, you don't even know what's happening. Our guest host this evening is Erica Wells Cox. Yes, that's right. And good to see you, Erica.
Good to be here.
Good. And of course, we have Candy later on. We'll be rowing each other about roles as we've done for the last 10 years. So only now we'll do it publicly. Erica, there's a lot to talk about, but you're here, and you haven't been here post Trump.
No, not since.
You and I texted each other during the debacle.
Yes.
I think I was moving back and forth to the commode.
Yeah, it was an interesting night.
Yeah, I'm in a media blackout, so it doesn't matter to me now. It's like there's an emptiness because I don't have the toxic things that were going on prior to the election.
So you're cleansing.
I don't know if I'm cleansing. I'm something.
Okay.
It's probably I'm probably detoxing.
Yeah.
And there's a price to pay for that. You feel like a void.
Yeah. I'm unfortunately I've gone in the other direction.
You have a void?
I am consuming even more madness than I was before. I can't even keep up.
No, well, see, I'm not consuming it. See, I think I told you this story before. And this is how my life has space. I'm creating space. I used to be really fanatic about sports. And one day, as I said, I was coming to a radio show on a Sunday, and I left the house, my good friend, Eddie Carter, and we were watching. I don't even know if it was my team. I don't even remember if it was my team playing. Okay? No. But you get into this thing. I don't know if, Kendrick, if you've ever been in, you're in a home, you got some beers, you got something, and then you start yelling at each other for like over a call. Something that you have zero control over. You start the words like sissy and stuff starts coming up. Okay, yeah. Well, that's a sissy play. That's a sissy move. It's like you're personifying moves. Okay, and so I left the house. It was around about just before 7. I think my show started at 7. I was drunk.
Uh-oh.
I was hoarse. I was stressed out. I was mad. I was everything negative. And I said, and I got to my car, never mind, because between the wall and my car was tight.
Oh.
When it was tight, so I had to squeeze. And I never forget that space. I was like, what am I doing? Why am I? These people on these teams don't even know me.
No.
And I'm buying their stuff.
Well.
Yeah, and I'm buying it, but they're paid well because I'm buying their stuff. I said, you know what? That's it. I'm not watching this anymore. And in fact, a friend of mine who watched, his team is the Rams. He had this weird rationale. I was a Cowboy fan at the time, Kendrick. This was in the years when the Cowboys were and everything. He had this weird rationale that the Rams that were 1-something, okay, were better than the Cowboys because they had beat the Cowboys 2 years ago. Some rationale.
Well, you need
okay.
you need to have your rationale.
Yeah. Okay. So you know what I said to him? I said, you know what? I'll use your name. I said, Kendrick, I'm never talking to you about sports again. Okay? I said, if I ever talk to you about sports again, I'm going to give you my house. I just tried to make it show him, understand it's over. So that's what I just stopped watching sport. Now that's what I'm going to do with this rubbish. I'm just going to stop. It's not interesting anymore. I like the little 9-0, little, what do you call it? SVU.
What is it? Law
and Order.
Law and Order. Yeah. Okay. You'll come back.
Well, if I do come back, it'll be like, I don't know when.
Yeah.
It's been 8 years of pain.
I know people in your boat who can't bear to watch the news
and I can't stand to watch that boy.
Which one? Joe?
No. Trump. He's a boy. I call him that boy. I'm trying to have disrespect for him. I'm not calling. Well, you see, you made me do it. I was pledged, and now that's my last time. Not to call the name. Mm-hmm. I'm not calling the woman's name.
Okay.
The Croatian or Lithuanian or whatever Asian she's from.
Right, I got
so
you.
I'm not acknowledging them. I'm in a different bubble.
Right. Okay. Well, okay.
And part of my media boycott is actually the media. That's
Tell me why.
Well, I Fox, I hated them even when they were like on the losing side. So I can't stand to watch them now.
No.
But I just think that and I'm a part of the media, but I think I pride myself on not being sensational. I think if people think that way, that's fine. But I think I have decided that I'm not into that.
Right.
I'm not into the story of the day. Okay? And it's almost, and I know there are a lot of colleagues out there, it's almost like a laziness. Mm-hmm. Okay? It's just easy to just pick up on the story of the day and go with that.
Right.
It's like the mannequin thing. Right. It's just why. It's just.
Well, that's another.
Yeah.
That's another matter.
So I don't think that I go down that road, and I don't think I sensationalize things. I think what we try to do here is to just discuss the issues. We have Sydney Colley coming on today. I didn't put it on my blog. I just had so many things going on. So, we're going to discuss some issues,
right.
Like where does party stand and things. I don't really care who he likes or he doesn't like. What's the value of that?
Right.
Mm-hmm. And I think that the media in the U.S. is just, it's gone off. And then the social media. Did you see Facebook? Did you see the story?
Oh, yes, with the fake news.
Yeah. I told y'all.
Yeah.
Were you here the time when I talk about the filter?
No, I was not here, but I've been concerned about it because you hear people who you think are reasonably intelligent repeating these things that they've read on Facebook, and you're going, but that's not a valid news source. That's not actually true. But they will tell you, no,
I read it. They buy into it.
I read it.
Yeah. Well, I was saying, you weren't here. I think maybe Ace Newbold was here. But what I was saying is, there used to be a time in TV before. See, you went from smoke signal, right?
Right.
And then I guess the telegraph, right?
The pony.
Then the radio.
Yeah, you missed the pony.
Yeah, the Pony Express. Yeah, but that was letters. I'm not talking about mail, like, one-on-one type of media.
Right.
Yeah, smoke signals would kind of like tell the village to the Zulu's coming.
Right.
Okay. Basics, it's raining. So the thing is, now then you went to radio. Well, you had newspapers, which were always kind of bizarre. Then you went to radio, mm-hmm. But they had another thing going on, which was a censorship, mm-hmm. And the censorship was mostly for content in terms of values and moral content and all that. Mm-hmm. But what it did was it also, and I don't know what the libel laws were like. Here in the Bahamas, the libel laws are very strict.
Right. They're in line with Great Britain. Yeah.
I realized it was going straight doing OJ.
Okay.
Because how could you get a fair trial?
Right. Yeah. When every minute of it is all leading up to the trial.
Well, see, you're a youngster. Do you remember a thing called Court TV?
Not really.
Do you remember that? Yeah. There was a thing on TV. There were two cases that I remember gave like the highlight to Court TV, mm-hmm. the impetus to Court TV. The Ted Smith. He was a nephew of the Kennedys. And he was accused of rape.
Right.
And then the OJ case. They were on Court TV. Okay. They were trying the case on TV.
Okay. Yeah. I remember.
You remember that?
I think I.
Yeah, man. They had some people that are like Greta Van Sustrom or whatever her name was on Court TV.
OJ trial made some names.
Right. But that's when you realize it was finished.
Right.
And there are people going, well, no, I think he did it on TV. Mm-hmm. And this is why. This is the theory why. So now you have no jurors that are not biased.
Because, you know what, I was thinking it all started to go downhill with the advent of 24-hour cable news.
Yeah, but that was kind of in sync.
Right? So you have this situation where you have to fill airtime.
But it wasn't so much the 24-hour news. It was the 24-hour news competition.
Right.
Because when you had CNN.
When it was just CNN, they were
Bernard Shaw and them.
Cream of the crop.
That was it. And they repeated the same thing, but it was valid stuff, right? Now it's just, opinion and
you know that my I don't have an issue with opinion. I like opinion, but I think you need to make sure you separate the two, because then your
opinion is not the news.
Right. Opinion is not the news, and the person who is writing the opinion should be reserved as an opinion writer, as a columnist, in my view, or on the editorial.
Right. And we're going to go in 2 seconds, but if you look in a newspaper, the editorial is a minor part of the paper.
Yep.
The news content could take up 40 pages. In the TV world, it's all editorial.
Right. It is. Yeah, it is.
It's
really
all editorial.
75%
editorial.
is opinion.
But the little snippets coming in, it's more than that. It's 98. They just have little breaks for the news.
Yeah, they
like
do
the tornado hit the village or something. Anyway, we're going to be back and we'll talk a little bit more, and then we're going to talk with Candy. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It feels here along with not Rogan Smith, Erica Wells Cox, and Kendrick Williams. So we're talking about this thing, and I don't. I in the same way that those who are in the media do what they wish and don't care about it, I don't care about the fact that I have to talk about it, because it's talkable about.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's fair game.
It's you talked about anonymity. Let's look at social media. There is no filter. We've gone from an era of filtering in terms of libel. Why have libel laws if instead of being in the newspaper, I can just go on the social media and broadcast it to a great audience? It makes no sense that I can just attack you and charge you with something. By the way, I say this and I make this I make no apologies about this. When it comes to the Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump thing, my thing was I had rather vote for someone who allegedly did something with an email. Like, she published an email that she shouldn't have sent to Erica.
Right.
Than someone who is known to be whatever that guy is.
Right. I don't think there's a comparison. I agree with you.
And then how much of it is loaded? How much of it is just the narrative that has been fed for years and years and years?
Right.
To me, I think a lot of it is the narrative.
Right. I think it's the way it was covered. I'm a journalist. I'm a part of the media, but I can say that.
In fact, you can prove it's a narrative. That letter that was sent by Comey, that was a narrative. Yep. Boom! Let me drop this on you. Okay, that took out 4 points.
Yep.
So I don't know. There's a lot of reflection. You said the New York Times said it had to reflect.
Yeah, it sent out a very strange, in my opinion, it was a strange letter to its subscribers. And obviously, it was in response to readers who complained about their coverage, and which I found interesting.
Okay, I'm going to do this real quick. I saw Gawain Bo on TV last night, who I think is a very courageous, very straightforward. And I don't know, I don't know why I say this, but I feel that he just somehow, his words flow. They're just, they're very,
resonate.
just how he strings them together, just, it's effortless. Okay. It's an effortless flow of real information. And one of the things he said, really quite honestly, and other people who would have any kind of courage should just bandwagon it, is let's not pick a nation to ostracize. Okay? If you want to talk about you're uncomfortable with a state-run organization being in control of something because there's sovereign issues there, that's one thing. If you want to talk about foreign investment, talk about foreign investment, because it really doesn't matter where it comes from. It's still foreign investment. It could have been, the Malaysians or the, Lithuanians. We don't want it. So it has nothing to do with the Chinese.
Right, with the particular nation.
Yeah, it's crazy, because before you know it, we'll be like that boy talking about who we can let into the country.
Right.
So
the feeling is there, though. You walk about and it's already started. I feel. I mean, it's obvious, and I think it comes from somewhere.
Well, and it's a new thing, right? Because it's not. the Sunan, shop.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Because the reality is we've had Chinese in our midst forever.
Yep.
Great Bahamian families,
That's
in
right.
fact. So, let's just, calm down. That's the problem. It's no calm.
Is there a lot going on social media with that? I try to stay away.
I don't know, but it's fed into by the politics. It's like the volume is always on 9 or 10. There's no 4, know?
Right.
So, and everyone is just yelling.
Right.
Anyway, so that's my thing on that. All right. It's Candy with the fro.
My curly fro?
It's a
Kendrick
fro.
was like, whoa, where you
yeah,
come from?
yeah. You gone?
I have many looks.
You gone stringy? All right, so it's kind of like a what do you call
What
them
is it?
things? A Roman noodle or something?
No, it's
ramen.
not.
A ramen noodle,
Ramen
yeah.
noodle?
Yeah,
Ramen noodle.
in a bigger sense.
It's a little
Anyway,
frizzy.
yeah. Well, anyway, don't worry. It's fine.
Ramen noodles.
It's
They're
okay.
not
I
frizzy.
like it, Candy.
Yeah, we
you.
like it. It's
It looks great.
But anyway, so first of all, let me say this to you. I'm going to say it to you publicly because, very now and again, people, they find themselves.
Uh-oh.
So, I was at a wedding and you did this. See, I don't, let me tell you, she did this guest list.
Seating
board.
chart.
Seating.
First of all, I think it was great because I hate those things, generally.
Okay.
Stand in line, people look down a list.
It's very easy.
Their
You just go and
assistance
look
is
for your
not
name.
appreciated at all.
Okay.
But with this one, you just go and look, and then if you can read. If you can't read, don't come to the wedding.
Right.
But you read, and you can see your name and all that. But it was done on a mirror. But here's what I don't get, and you have to reveal this because this is not, what's his name, David Blaine or
Right.
something that you can't reveal the secrets. How do you keep the same size letter in a straight line 300 times?
Ew.
Did you have a ruler?
I can't reveal
No,
my
but you had a
secret.
ruler. Did you have a
Yes,
ruler or was it
you
freehand?
have to line up and measure up. Yes.
So, okay, but did you make mistakes and you had to erase it? Because it looks like you
Oh,
were
I
just...
don't make mistakes.
Oh, okay. Well,
Actually, no,
you
I
did.
made one.
Yes,
that
I
was
pointed
it.
it out.
And that was the only one that I made.
What, a spelling error?
No,
No.
I was
was-
looking
that
at
was
the thing,
very-
and
that
I
was-
pointed out you got the tables here wrong, I think.
Well, yes, you separated two people.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and then I blew up the picture and I'm like, holy smokes. And on site, I had
And
to
of all the
change
people,
it.
I would pick that out. Hey,
I know.
but again, perfection.
And that was the only mistake. I did it one shot.
yeah,
one
only
go.
one, or
yeah,
is that
one
what you're
shot.
admitting to?
What's that?
Is that the only one, or is that the only one I didn't pick? I picked up.
No. That
Okay,
was
it.
yeah.
Okay. No, it was really well done. It was.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're gonna get a lot. So I think that there are people who have a thing that no one else can do.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? That there are people who just the square thing freaks me out. The square lettering, but because it's all the same size and everything, and it's just
Right.
I don't care what you have, rulers, whatever. It's not gonna, it doesn't work out that way. But you also, I see you do this cursive calligraphy thing,
Yeah.
and aren't you supposed to have erasers and stuff like that to do that? But you're just kind of doing it.
Yeah, that was
No room for error.
All right. Well, you're gonna make a lot of money off of that.
well,
Okay.
let's hope.
So there you go.
Hey, that's the side gig.
Sorry, Duran. You've
Right,
lost
that's-
your assistant. You've lost your
That's the
assistant.
business. No, that's the business. You don't get any
I
tips
change
to.
people's names. You know that,
Duran?
right? Yeah, Rogan is Rogan
Right.
or Rogan.
Well, what about Erica?
I haven't come up with one
It's
yet.
hard to
Yeah,
do,
Erika.
Erica.
Erika.
No,
Yeah.
please.
So
No.
and so yeah,
Thank you for
good
that,
stuff.
Ed.
Yeah,
Thank you.
congratulations. That's a plug. It's a
Yes,
plug, but it's a plug
yay.
well deserved because it's just it's a freaky skill.
And you know what is so funny about that is because I've been doing it so long and because
Yeah.
it just
Yeah.
comes naturally to
Yeah.
me, I don't think of it as
Yeah,
a
it's
skill.
a freaky skill. Like they have the government they had a calligrapher.
Really?
Yeah, because they would do the invitations.
Oh.
You ever saw those invitations?
Yeah, but I never thought much about them.
Well, I thought much about them because every time I saw that, I knew it was somewhere I don't want to go. Now
Yeah,
they
that's
come and
usually a sign.
now they type and they fool me.
Right.
Right.
So,
But
oh,
before,
this might be
yeah,
interesting.
before it was the
Yeah,
calligraphy
I'm hoping-
envelope came, I go, I don't want to be at that place.
Yeah, I'm hoping that handwriting makes a comeback.
I don't
you
think
know,
so.
I think
technology.
some things are coming full circle.
Yeah, certain things.
In that
you know,
environment, like
yeah.
weddings and special events, they would.
I can frame your vows,
and
too.
dinners,
Dinners.
where you
What's
need
that?
place
I can frame
cards.
your vows too if you want me to.
Yeah, well, I'll give you a call on that. All right, so
Not sure if that's a
we're
good idea.
we're talking. So congratulations on that. We're
Thanks,
moving on
thanks,
now.
yes.
So tell us about. We were
We were
talking about roles.
continuing from last week.
Yes.
You remember we were talking
you have to
about.
bring me up to speed.
Yes, Erica, we were talking about getting rid of the whole term breadwinner. And I want to even extend it to, why is it the male designated the head of the household? And I'm not, yes, we know spiritually and religion for religious reasons and things like that. But just because you have a different set of bubbles than I do, you are automatically in charge.
Well, I think
And
that's
we're like,
changed.
can we?
Yeah,
Do you?
I
do you
told her
think
that
so?
too.
Now, hold on. We're talking about in this here in Nassau.
It's
the Bahamas.
It's to the individual group or person. It's not universal anymore.
I don't think
No,
it's along gender lines as it used to be. I think in some cases, you still have some very traditional families or environments or households. But I do think it's changing. I do think it depends on the breadwinner is who's bringing home the most,
Financial!
Right, but we were. I mean, what we were talking about even last week. I mean, it doesn't particularly need to be
the financial.
right. Like, why is it? Why do we even have that? Okay, so I make more than you. What does that even mean?
Can I present my argument
What does that even mean? So because I make more, I'm just bringing
Yeah,
up
go
to
ahead,
speed.
up to
Because I
speed.
make more than you, there are just certain things that I don't have to do.
Okay.
Oh, well, that's kind of a different.
Yeah.
No,
We're
but that's-
crossing roles
Can I
here.
then can I go back to the
Yeah.
classic argument? Which argument am I going to go back to? You know what I'm going to go to.
No,
Can
but you
talk
always go
about it?
back to that.
Go,
Let's
go
try
to
to
it.
come up with something
No,
different.
you can't tell me what I can
Okay,
go back
all
to.
right, well,
I
she
go back
doesn't-
to the argument.
No, she doesn't hurt it. Let's.
Okay. Can you tell me? I want to see if we're in sync, or have you forgotten the argument?
Yes, I forgot.
You don't want to talk about it. So I have a theory, Erica.
I blocked it out.
Okay.
And actually, I used it for two scenarios. Okay, because it's not about women and men and all that. It's about how we do things, history. Okay.
Okay.
When we the pivotal points. Okay. So one example is civil rights and racism. The other one is equal rights for women, or okay. And I think what happened was we misdefined what that was. Okay. So for instance, no one talks about abolitionists.
Okay.
Okay, it's like didn't exist. Okay, the reality is the first steps towards civil rights were largely white people. Okay, but we didn't have TV. Okay, so no one knows about them. No one knows about I don't even know them. But you have people like I forget the guy's name now.
You don't think these things were written down, Ed?
Yeah, they were written down, but no one
but we
knows.
can't-
You
they
name me
can read.
4 abolitionists. Since I wrote them down, and you're a reader. Go on, name me 4.
My point.
You
The
don't know
point that
them.
the point
Garrison,
that
you know
I'm
about him?
trying to make
Yeah.
is that I think that things have been recorded, but
It's
we
no
don't
TV.
consume things that way anymore.
So the civil rights movement. If I said to you, what is the civil rights movement acquainted with? What do you come up with?
Well, I mean, there are some big names:
Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, Alabama, Jim Crow, the Dogs. That's what you come up with. That's on TV.
Right.
Okay.
But there are many others
But
as
the
well.
so the problem is, I think that for a lot of people, the civil rights movement is defined by a very class division between white and black. Okay. And so if you go back further, where it was actually a lot of white people and a lot of black people, then it would have been less tension. Okay. In the women's movement, my thing, and this is not sexist, it's just an opinion, that when women looked to become equal, they misdefined equal as I want to run a bulldozer, as opposed to what I do in the workplace or any place is as of equal value.
Well, that too, but they also wanted to have the options available. They wanted
were
to be
looking for
able to
certain
do the
rights.
same
They
things.
wanted to be able to vote.
Not
No, that's I agree with that. Those are basics. I'm not
Right.
talking about that. That isn't in the definition.
You're
That's a
talking
human
about
being.
more social.
I'm talking about if I am going to be an equal to a man,
Okay.
I must be able to get a job. And I'm not saying they can't. I'm just saying this was the sole definition. It was not. Okay, let me put it this way. Assuming you wanted to have the right and the option to be a pilot, fine. But suppose all those women who didn't want to be a pilot and who wanted to stay at home, they were not afforded any value to staying at home. In fact, feminists decried them staying at home,
Yes.
as opposed to saying, if you want to stay at home, fine, but it's got to be valued at X.
Right.
But I mean, I think we've even moved past that.
Well, of
where-
course, because we ignored it.
Right. No, but but I think there's always going to be the pendulum swift, right? And then eventually it settles down, and you hopefully you find a medium. So now we are in a situation where we have stay-at-home dads. That's valued. I think if you're a woman and you say, my choice is I want to stay home and take care of my children and take care of the home, that's my contribution. I don't think you're going to find many people who are going to turn up their nose at you.
Yeah. I happen to not believe in the pendulum in the middle thing. I think the pendulum, if the pendulum is in the middle, you're dead. The clock stopped.
Right. Well,
Okay?
okay.
All right? It always swings. It just swings.
Well, it swings, but
Yeah.
it also settles, right?
Yeah.
So I think right now in America, where the pendulum is on the other, as far side as it could go, right? But eventually it will slow, Ed, and it will.
I want to ask you a question. I know you go in.
We're gonna
will
go
balance
to
out.
the news, and we come back.
Right.
We'll continue.
I
want to
ask Ed a
wonderful thing.
question.
Did Sydney arrive? There to go. There to go. Well, you got him in the dog.
Good evening. Good evening. Can you hear me on this? It's interesting how you can hear my voice through my vocal cords.
voice box, yeah.
Yes. I think I'm going to talk like that from now on. It feels much more comfortable instead of talking into a spitty mic.
Anyway, so we're talking with Candy. This is better, actually. We're talking with Candy about roles. And listen, I think at the end of the day, you can fight these fights about, dropping this word and dropping that word. At the end of the day, it is going to come about how each unit defines itself, and for the world to allow it. Because like you said, in India, for instance, they've got, Erica was saying this, they got rid of the caste system legally. So there is room for those who would be predisposed to wanting to get rid of that to be allowed to get rid of it, as opposed
not
to
want to
before
be
you'd
in
be
it,
as before you'd be breaking the law
Yeah.
to get rid of it. So that's what you can hope for, right? It's like unions and labor laws, etc.
Okay, so the question I wanted to ask you, though,
Yes, ma'am.
the whole, the beat on your chest, head of household, I run things.
I've never seen anyone except Tarzan beat on their chest or silverback gorillas.
They do secretly, they do.
Okay, they do. Okay. And where do you beat on, Candy? Where would
do
you
I
like to
what?
beat on if you were beating? No, go ahead. Yeah. So the whole beating.
The whole,
uh-huh.
No, you're right. So the whole concept of head of household, do you think it's more prevalent in Black communities?
I don't think so.
I agree with Ed.
I think it's prevalent in, and I hate to use this phrase, in less developed environments, less education, sex. That's TS. And
So
I don't think it's a racial
Okay, let me
thing at
follow
all.
up with the next question. How
Yes,
many
follow up.
brothers staying home with the children while
Well,
their wife going to
many,
work? I'm asking.
how many Vernals staying home?
Oh,
Vernal?
let's ask. I mean, we could,
Yeah, I don't think
bring
Vernal
up
up in the
statistics.
hills staying home either, in
I'll
Alabama.
provide that for you next
Okay,
week.
all right.
But I'm just saying, think about it.
I think it's, again, more prevalent
You
in
don't think that Black men will
socioeconomic-
have more of a problem staying home?
I think it's socioeconomic.
I think it has more to do with like Ed was saying, the socioeconomic environment bracket than
Yeah.
it does with race. I mean, but I
Really?
take your point.
I don't.
Listen, to put it this way,
Why do y'all think that?
no,
I'm
I
just
think
asking.
that's just how I feel. I think that a white male who, because I think, let's put it this way, the prevalence of the macho-ness exists across the board.
Yeah.
Period. Nationality, race, socioeconomic group, macho. So you could have a very wealthy, very educated person, macho. But if you're going to see, what you will see more of is the less macho in a higher socioeconomic educated bracket than you would see at a lower socioeconomic uneducated bracket. That's how I think it pans out. I mean, we'll have to look at the numbers.
Yeah, I think I'll look at those.
Yeah.
I
I'll
would be
provide
very,
some-
very curious to know.
I'll provide
Yeah.
some. I mean,
Because personally, I would like to stay home. Throw me in that.
You would?
Boy, Ed, I know. Ed
What?
says that.
Have
No,
you-
listen,
have
Ed
you
says
had-
that,
time out,
but
time out,
Ed says
time out.
that. You
How can you
couldn't-
say I say that?
You
can't
say
say
that. You, Mr.
Do you know- do you know that I-
Y'all think I got tabs open?
You would go crazy.
He's got
y'all,
like.
see, y'all don't know me. I'm a horizontal guy. I like horizontal. You
but
know why?
you
You know
also
why I leave the
cannot
home?
let things go.
But it-
like
Yeah, but that has
Staying
nothing
at
to do with
home
not
doesn't
staying at
mean
home.
You're horizontal.
that-
No.
Quite the opposite.
No, but what I'm saying, see, Candy is associating not staying at home with not being active. That's not right.
Is that what you're? I
Yes,
agree,
that's what she
I
says.
agree with you. That's not right.
I'm not. I would. In fact, some of the most active people on the planet are women who stay at home.
Yes.
Okay, they're involved in all sorts of
no,
things.
I agree.
It
Okay.
depends on what.
So
you
I'll
find
engage in some stuff.
stimulating.
yeah,
What
no,
I wouldn't be engaging of is wake like
yeah.
that.
I guess from a financial standpoint is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Sometimes people think that by staying home you're not bringing in as much money.
Not
listen.
contributing in the
Some
same
people
way.
actually bring in more.
If someone, anyone
Mm-hmm.
wants me to stay at home, and they're willing to bring in the
And guess
bread
what? Ed,
or the croissant, I am willing to say merci.
don't you? All right. I mean, I don't. This might be personal, and I don't want to ask any personal questions, but
Well done.
don't you feel don't you feel the pressure of taking care of your family? Like, I mean,
only
and
reason
you're.
you can ask that question.
Okay.
The only basis
You didn't
that
let
I
me finish,
No, but
but-
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. Do I feel the pressure?
Did you understand what I was
Yes,
saying?
right.
What was I going to say?
Because I feel the need to earn to take care of my family.
Right.
Only because
Entirely on
but
your own.
if someone else were doing it, I wouldn't feel the pressure. It would be
Okay,
no
so
pressure.
if Michelle
But
was
you're not by
completely taking
yourself.
care of the family by
I would not
all
care.
on her own.
Rock and roll. Let's do it.
That would be
Horizontal.
fine.
Tracksuit. That's me.
Yoga
Candy in a
pants.
tracksuit. Eh?
Suit.
Where you get all them tracksuit? Of course. Of course.
Okay,
Right,
But like
so-
I said, Ed, I said this a couple of shows ago. You are more progressive in your thinking. There are some men that, heck
By the way-
no, I am not staying home.
Well, you want me to
And
throw a
feel
little
like
monkey
I'm
wrench?
just
You want me
not,
to throw a little
you
monkey
know?
wrench in your thing? Want me to throw a little
Throw
monkey
it.
wrench in that?
Let's see if
Okay.
it'll stop.
A lot of brothers riding around here in singlet, and they wake in, and the woman who on route to wake, and they bringing home the money. They home, they drive around the car.
Singlet.
Let me throw a little
Them
monkey
white
wrench in that for
beaters,
you.
eh?
Yeah. You don't know what a singlet is? You know what a
Yeah.
singlet?
Yes, I
They
know
drive
what a
around, they
singlet
pick
is.
them up afterwards.
Right, and then we can talk
They
about
wake
how
up.
lazy they are, right?
Plenty dudes
Well-
not working, and their woman is taking care of
I'm
them.
talking about straight up, like you just
Well, I'm
straight
just
up
telling you.
lazy, being lazy.
Would you say that it's macho? They're not
Well,
feeling
it
any
might
pressure?
not be- it might not be a situation where they're being lazy. It might not be a situation where they're being lazy. Maybe they've agreed to that arrangement for whatever reason.
Well, that's
They're doing their thing.
oh, that's
She
true.
do her thing.
Okay.
Buy a little shading thing for me now and again. That's why I don't want to get the shade messed up. That's why it's wear a singlet.
Huh? Now you as a man.
Yes, ma'am.
How do you view that situation?
Well, I see that person not forget. Listen, in a scenario where people are rearing children, okay. If you have an agreement where, listen, I'm going to stay home, I'm going to take care of the child, take care of things at home. You're to work because you may be more educated or more skilled than I am. Wonderful. Now, this is a difference from when you're shiftless
Right. And you're
Right.
not working because you don't.
because you just don't want to work.
Right.
Right,
You're,
that's what I'm
you're
saying.
lazy,
Yeah, that isn't
That's a
and you're not doing anything home.
Right. I mean, that's not that's not the
nothing
scenario you
productive.
described just now.
Nothing
What,
productive.
not doing anything home?
Yeah, and I mean in the singlet, that in the
That's
scenario
what I
that
was,
you
that's
just
what, yeah,
We
yeah.
don't want to
Yeah. No, I'm
Yeah.
just
stereo.
saying.
We don't
Yeah.
want to. We don't want to. We don't want to
Singlets?
make that connection.
We don't want to stereotype
Singlets,
singlets.
lazy, no. Right?
No.
I just have a thing with singlets.
Oh,
But anyway,
dear.
I don't even know why they call
They
it
call them
singlets.
wife beaters.
Yeah, yeah. What are they
It's
things?
an English thing, a singlet.
Singlet, yeah.
Yeah, an undershirt. It's-
Undershirt.
Yeah.
Look, I think again we have to just. I think one of our biggest problems, and even when we're talking about the media, is this broad brushing.
Yeah.
We should be in a society now where each individual, and this is, by the way, Candy, to your point, has been really the heart of the problem, is creating definitions that we're supposed to accept universally.
Mm-hmm.
If someone is comfortable with he's the breadwinner, well, let them be comfortable with that.
Mm-hmm.
If they have if there's another family that wants to have a more a different outlook on things, let them have that. What we should be as a society is to accept the choices of those people.
And I agree, but then also they need to, I think everybody also needs to be the information needs to be available and be knowledgeable about just the bigger picture, and then make a more sound choice.
Right, but
now, if at the end of if you know no other way,
Yeah.
and this is the way that I've been taught, I've been and I've not been exposed to anything else. Okay, but
Yeah, but
once you choose that,
Yeah.
after all of the exposure, fine.
But see, I'm gonna disagree with you. And
Why
let me tell you
not?
what the basis I'm going to disagree with you on. Not that people shouldn't have knowledge, et cetera, et cetera. But if someone has zero knowledge, and they are content, and we don't have any right to determine their contentness. Okay, if they're content to have zero knowledge and to exist in the environment they're in, I don't have a right to say, hey, let me give you some knowledge here about what you should be doing. No, that's different. We're not talking about abusive situations and you can't go learn nothing. No, a lot of people, this is good for them. Yeah. This is their thing. And
okay,
let them
so
choose.
all right, so somebody who doesn't know how to read or doesn't even know books exist.
But
hold on, people that they don't know that it even exists. You
then
put a
so
book in front
what?
of them, and oh my goodness, you can actually read this. Like there's stuff that you can. I mean, there's the concept of reading. I didn't know that existed.
Yeah, but Candy.
So then you don't teach.
Candy, all I'm saying is, if someone chooses not to have read, and they are content, they're not being abused.
But they don't even know about reading.
But
they don't know about reading.
But you can't force them to know about it.
No,
You're
I'm not saying you're being forced to know about it. If I'm just saying, information is, out there. Like at least it's readily available for you.
We live in a day. Let me just say this: we live in a day and age where reading. I don't read. I'm telling you that now.
Yeah, but you know how
I
to
can
read.
But this is what I'm saying. There's information available to people. This is not the days of, well, I'm down there in the gully and no one's come by for 4 weeks. This is not that. This is cable. This is Facebook. This is every single one in the deepest part of Africa has a smartphone.
You'd be surprised, though, Ed.
No. Let me finish the point. I'm saying to you that there's a lot of people who have information. Plus, they see Candy. They see you work.
Go on.
They see you working in the working world. They go, oh, why is she? I want to check out that. They have information. They're not cloistered in their home, like they were in the days of yore. I get to say that yore. Okay, is that R-E with yore?
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
So I just think that people are exposed. Maybe not up in Volta, but anyway, in the Bahamas
Let me tell
they're
you
exposed.
something as simple. Guess what? You know that seating chart that I did this week? I got comments that they didn't even know that could happen.
What do you
that
mean?
existed. Like, oh my goodness,
seating chart?
writing on that concept. Like, oh, I should have known for my wedding. I've never seen it. And for somebody who's been exposed to that kind of stuff, that I'm always, I'm on Instagram, I see these things, and I, creatively, I'm exposed to a lot of things. But once I put that there, and I got feedback from people here, they didn't even know.
Yeah, but the point
But
I'm
you
making is,
understand what I'm saying?
I do. I
think
understand.
people. I would think that people know that seating
Candy.
charts on mirrors exist, but there are people that don't think that there are seating charts on mirrors that exist.
Candy, people don't know a lot of things,
Right.
including you, including I. They manage. When
Right.
you get into choices of how you want to live,
Mm-hmm.
the fact that you didn't know about the mirrored thing, it's okay. I'll get the little
I think you're
placards.
also missing my point. Y'all are missing my
Okay,
point.
all right.
I think y'all are greatly missing my
Okay,
point.
all right.
When the term when you know better, do better, right? You know that term? You have that option. You could stay and do what that you've always been doing, or you have the
But why-
option
but-
to do something
but suppose
else.
you don't know what is the.
No, I didn't say. That's why I said not better. I
Right.
said you could decide. You could make
time
that
we got?
choice.
We got-
That okay, I can continue doing what I'm doing,
Right.
or I can do this thing over here that I've just been.
What I'm saying to you is, that's good. But if they don't know,
Mm-hmm.
so what? I'm saying there are people. Let me just finish. There are people who live in some remote places in the world. They may be happy. Let me tell you, there are people. There are tribes who live in the Yanomamo, which is a tribe I studied in the Amazon.
Yes.
You know, when they got to know, you know what happened to them? Extinction. That's what happened to them. They were they if you examine their the ways of their life, they lived for thousands of years. And you know, when they got exposure, you know what they had? Disease and I'm not broad brushing. I'm just saying everything isn't just about knowing everything and adopting everything. Things happen. You know, and if you're being abused, if you're being held back, but this is a day of information knowledge.
And see, that's the next thing. You choose when you want to have information. If you're being abused and you don't know that is not you should not be abused, and somebody is now telling you, listen, guy, this is not okay. What's happening to you is not okay. But they feel that it's normal. Okay, then it's okay to be exposed to that information. When do we decide when it's okay to be exposed to different types of information?
You know what you did though, and we'll leave it because we got to end it. You did the reverse because you're deciding what they should be exposed to.
No, I'm not.
Okay, well that's what I'm missing.
I know, I'm not. I'm saying you're deciding that.
No, I'm deciding that they'll get exposed to when they get exposed. I'm saying they will get exposed to when they get exposed.
Whenever that
is. As opposed to me going and saying, you know what, that religion you have, where you worship the tree?
Well, okay.
I'm just
I don't
example.
think I ever said that.
No, I'm not saying you are, but I'm saying this is what people do. That religion where you worship the tree, that's wrong. Let me tell you because I'm smarter than you. Let me tell you what you need to know. Okay, let me tell you what religion you need to do. You know that position you have sex in? Not good. Go with the missionary. It's animals. Okay? This is when we start to hang-ups and things, all kinds of things.
This is why we have an interesting president of the United States.
Oh, Lord.
Anyway, look
okay, now we just made a shift. Now we got to get Sydney on. We got to get Sydney Call on. Very passionate, very interesting, very.
I get a little loud.
Yeah, I was giving you the signal.
No, I only know.
I was giving you the volume.
I only know one volume.
Okay.
Loud.
All right. No, actually, it wasn't loud. It was just excited. Very excited. All right.
That's me.
It's called passion.
Yes.
Okay. Well, listen, we'll see you next week.
Okay.
All right. And listen, learn something.
Every day.
Right back. Okie dokie. We've had our fun for this afternoon with Erika, and Candy, and you know, we don't. I'm going to preface this by first of all, saying that our guest this afternoon is Mrs. Sydney Colley, who is the chairman of the Free National Movement, and let me just tell you, this is the first kind of foray into politics. We had the Prime Minister on, but we talked about some generalities. But this is the kind of first foray into politics that we're going. And, you know, I think a lot of people who listen in when they hear about, you know, this is pure, unadulterated, raw politics we're going to get into now, think that it's like, well, can you tell me how you feel about the leader? I'm not interested in that. Not interested. If you're interested, when Sydney leaves, he'll be outside. You can ask him then. What I'm interested in is, why should we be voting for the FNM, or why should we be voting for the PLP or the DNA or whatever other initials they have out there? And so you can be assured that we will have guests in the same ranking from other political parties, because we're getting into that season, and we would be remiss if we did not address these things. So welcome, Sydney Colley, that I've given that context.
Thank you, Ed. It's a pleasure. It's the first time on your show, but it's certainly a pleasure.
It's the first time for everything. And, of course, you know Miss Erica Wells Cox,
yes.
Noted journalist, prominent journalist in our country. And that's Mr. Kendrick Williams, who is our engineer. So, listen.
I know Erica very well.
You do?
We
Good.
go way back.
Very good.
Way back.
Well, don't want to know the details. All right, so you know, I guess we're going to get to, and I don't know if this has even been attempted, so I'll start off. And what I want, you know, we just had this election in the United States where essentially I just realized that Trump actually won on the issues. So you know, everyone talked about the fact that there was no issues discussed. There was actually issues from day one when he said, I'm going to build a wall. Okay? I mean, that was the issue. because a lot of people bought into that thought process, right?
There wasn't much policy, but there were issues.
Yeah, there are issues. Okay, so let's start with. There are two issues I want to address with regard to immigration. Okay, I want to talk about immigration because it's kind of one of the big jigaboos that we have in our society, right? And that is one side, the xenophobia with regard to outsiders, and two, the absence of an immigration policy that should serve our country well, as opposed to no one can come in. It's always a big issue. Okay, so where does the FNM stand on that, Mr. Chairman?
Can I start off by commenting briefly on
Certainly.
the Trump phenomenon?
Oh, feel free.
I think the Trump, the president-elect of the United States, surprise victory has taught us who are pseudo-Americans in the Bahamas, and certainly Americans, a lesson. He's very unconventional because the conventional politicians like to get into the weeds and the specifics of the issues. You will notice that Trump spoke in generalities, in bold terms, and it resonated right across the country. And it appears that the media world missed what he was saying because the conventional wisdom was that the Eastern Corridor, the so-called Wall of Blue, was going to blow him out. And he flipped every single one of those states.
Well, he flipped the Rust Belt, not the Eastern Corridor. He flipped the Rust Belt, Michigan, Wisconsin.
Yes.
The Eastern, yeah.
Well,
and Florida.
Pennsylvania, Ohio, Florida,
yeah.
those were supposed to be the winning states. My takeaway was it was a curveball that no one saw coming because traditionally over the last few election cycles in the United States, it was how detailed, this was what was expected.
Yeah, you want
how
policy.
detailed can you get into the policy positions and clarify the very minute details of your policy. Trump wasn't interested in that. He was interested in big picture, big ideas, and just throw them out. And apparently the American electorate was either mad enough or didn't give two hoots enough to follow the conventional way. But now getting back...
No, but since you brought that up, and going back to the question that I asked, what I think that hurts people like me, and I would certainly not support any party here who did a similar thing, is when you go to the base, almost Hitlerian approach to the scapegoating and broad brushing of whole groups of people, because you can easily do that.
Absolutely.
Okay. I mean, listen. You can go and we know where you could go with that. You can go and ostracize a group of people here.
Absolutely.
And that's not progress. That's not.
No, that's not. That's certainly not what anybody in politics in the Bahamas would advocate. But you see, the billionaire bully who knocked down 16 of his contestants in the primary was successful. And there was no need for him to change anything going into the general election.
Right.
And he called everybody, every name that he could find, and he cussed out everybody else.
But is that something we would even consider wanting to follow?
And that was why everybody was so shocked, because no one thought America would elect someone who would so boldly and unabashedly and unapologetically
But the majority of people didn't vote for him, though. So we have to keep that in mind.
He got enough of the electoral
Electoral
vote.
vote.
Right,
Yeah, well,
right. But the popular vote, he lost.
And by the way, before the end of this show, we're going to talk about democracy in some way, shape, or form, because what this really highlighted to me, and I know we're going all over the place, but this really highlighted to me is that both the Bahamas and the Westminster, or whatever you want to call it, and the electoral system that only applies to the President of the United States, nowhere else, and not even anywhere else in the United States, it's not democracy. It's something, but it's not democracy.
Well, we could talk about Plato.
Yeah.
Plato.
Well, that was a democracy. That's the
you
point
know,
I'm making is whatever they fed us to believe is democracy
that's what
is
we
not
accept.
democracy.
Yes, yes.
But the point I'm going
your
back to
original question.
is we don't. It is the very easiest thing on the planet, Sydney, to boogeyman a group of people and get everyone on your side. That's why I use the phrase Hitlerian. When the Germans were having extremely difficult times, and I'm not talking about the evil he did, I'm just talking about the method, right? When they were having very difficult economic times, he took a group of people and blamed it on them.
That's right.
And the masses were ready to go with that. And you could do the same thing. It's been done here.
That's right. The ghettos of Germany in the Second World War and the Jews, their influence in the heart of the German culture was the perfect boogeyman for Hitler to manipulate.
Right.
And if you want to get myopic, and I have no apology in saying, in my view, Trump was very myopic. Hitler was certainly myopic. And you want to target a segment of your society, whether they are legal or illegal, whether they are immigrants or minority or some other group.
Right.
And your society is sensing that the so-called majority is being disadvantaged by groups of minority, and that so-called majority joins in with a personality that's bold enough to see it, to articulate it, and then to manipulate it.
Right.
And then you are dealing with a very dangerous and volatile situation.
And I just hope to goodness we don't go down that path here.
Well, my view is, and the FNM, the political organization that I represent as the national chairman, is now in the weeds of putting together a manifesto. We always had a manifesto, but every 5 years you tweak it, you add, you look at what is needed, you look at where you want to go from where you are, and you amend or you rehash or you throw away and bring in. And so we are now going through that process. We have a very good group of individuals from all walks of life who are going through the process of putting together a policy for governance over the next 5, perhaps 10 years. One thing you don't want to do in a melting pot, as long as you have, and I use that term advisedly, when I was in college, there used to be called a multicultural pluralistic society.
Yeah, too many words.
And, we have the Haitian subculture. At a smaller scale, we have some other ethnic and nationals in our country. We have the blacks, who are by far the majority, and we have the whites who are, as far as indigenous payments are concerned, are the very small minority. Can you imagine if there's a personality that emerges, using your word, a Hitlerian personality, for whatever reason, maybe Mussolini or Hitler or Stalin, and begin to appeal to the baser, more, some people say nationalistic, I don't agree, it's nationalistic, side of us, and we began to exploit that and demonize and start to prosecute and persecute the minority group.
But we've done that.
Right, I was just going
It's
to
called the
say.
UBP.
Yes, and well, not so much the UBP. It
The
was
Bay
the
Street Boys.
it was the colonizers who actually found a vehicle to use at the time. And I mean, if you go back, you could go back to slavery, and you can go back to what we used to be in this country in the early 1900s and the late 1800s. We never want to go there again by any group.
But you know what's interesting? I'm finding out more and more, and I'm seeing it on Facebook. It's a very interesting phenomenon. How we actually did that. I mean, listen, there was valid reason for the majority to say, look, we're not going to be, separated and be held in an apartheid state anymore. But what they did was also to take that and prolong that, because what I've come to learn is that on Facebook, a lot of white people did not feel included in the UBP.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Absolutely.
And so what we've done, though, is those people who were not even included in that segment, in that group of people, they've been broad brushed with that taint.
Because of the color of their skin, they were painted with that brush. You know, a couple of years ago, I visited Ghana and West Africa, Kumasi and Accra, Cape Coast, and the area where the blacks came from. Amazingly, and I went into the archives and into the big display areas to learn the history. It was the blacks. It was the Yoruba who were the warriors and the Dahomes against the God, and they captured the less strong tribal, and they
enslaved them and
enslaved
sold
them.
them into slavery.
And so what we did was we empowered the colonizers because they needed slave labor to drive at that time their industry, which was mass plantation. And, you know, there's a professor from the University of the West Indies who wrote a book called The Modern Plantation. And in these pseudo-colonial societies, there's now what they call a psychological plantation of the mind.
They've been saying that universities are forms of plantation thinking, but just to,
but that's more philosophical than where I
getting
think you
back
want
to
go.
the question of what the FNM is going to do. How is the FNM going to appeal to the public in terms of not going to those base things? We've seen cycle after cycle after cycle of going to that base mentality, right? About being able to do this, or we can do this, or these people are the fault, or that. How do we get to, here's how we progress this society? And I don't know if I feel comfortable with anyone is doing that.
Well, the FNM is doing that.
Well, tell us how.
Well, in order to create a set of policies for governance, a government in waiting needs to know what are the driving issues, what are the pertinent issues that affect the daily lives of the citizen. And one of the ways in modern politics is to do studies, is to do polls, is to do studies, and to rank the issues that affect the lives of the ordinary voter. And we have done that, and we are doing that, and we know what the issues are, and based on the returns from the poll, we also know which issues are in the minds of the voter.
What issues are you saying in the
mind? Well, unemployment. The whole issue of the economics of the country is an issue, and that's broken down into subsets. Crime is another issue that's broken down. Amazingly, corruption is like number 19 in a list of like 35 issues. Corruption is not very high in the minds of immigration. At one time, immigration has dropped. Immigration at one time was a serious issue, and with the escalation in crime, with the massive taxation and the way the economy is affecting unemployment and is affecting the lives of the ordinary Bahamian, those things have increased. And of course, a poll is a snapshot in time.
Right.
But there are ongoing polls, and there are very scientifically designed questions in order to get what are the Bahamian voters saying are the issues that affect their daily lives.
Well, you know, it's interesting. Erica, you had a question you want to ask?
Well, I'm just listening to what you're saying, and you talk about the issues and getting an idea and a grasp of what issues are, concern Bahamians the most. So you talk about the manifesto as well, and the parties putting together the manifesto. One of the things I used to notice when I was a journalist, I guess I'm still a journalist, but is when the manifestos come out, right? So
like about a week before the election.
Or sometimes, about a week before the election. So what I would like to know is you talk about these issues and how the party will address the issues. If you are someone who doesn't go to rallies necessarily, how does the FNM communicate how it will address those issues? Because I think it's through no fault of the newspapers and the news stories that come out. A lot of what goes into reporting is very politics focused. It's very personality focused. A lot of it is not as issue based as it could be.
Yeah.
Am I?
No,
is that
you're
fair?
absolutely right.
I readily accept the critique, which I believe is very helpful, that all of these political parties, before now, I think the landscape is changing. Wait too late to put out, whether you call it a manifesto or a charter for governance or a green paper or whatever you call it, or a platform. Wait too late to put in the hands of the voter and in the public domain your 5-year plan. Basically, that's what it is, or your 10-year plan for governance.
In fact,
what the FNM is trying to do, to some extent will do, is to get the manifesto out in social media. We are doing some things with our website. We are doing quite a lot of restructuring with a whole host of the social media, especially the ones that the young people go to. And it is the intention to put the manifesto, which is the policy for governance, into the public domain early, so that there could be meaningful discussions, critiques, whether you like what people have to say or not, and it's beneficial to the political parties because you can get feedback.
Mm-hmm. We're going to take a break, Sydney. We gotta take a little commercial break, and we'll come right back. Ed Fields here along with Sydney Colley, and it's unfortunate we don't have the amount of time that we need to really get into these things, so we'll have you back. And Candy and I had our little extended issue on the roles, but that's good stuff. Sydney, you talked about what resonated in the United States. And so as we don't have time to go issue by issue here today, which we will do another time.
Yes.
I want to ask you about what did resonate, and that is that people were against the status quo. Okay? And we have a status quo. It's called political parties. Okay? And within those political parties, there's a status quo within that.
Actually, it's called political dynasties.
Well,
because there appears to be a subtle attempt to perpetuate a certain class, a certain pedigree, certain wealth and moneyed people, and the little man who really feels that he has something to offer, or woman, just cannot break through.
Well, it's
get the feet on the ground in order to make the kind of not just political contribution, but contribution to the national life of the country.
And I don't disagree with you.
I totally agree with you that you I call it political dynasty. You said political.
Well,
parties.
the only reason I say parties is because the party themselves is a dynasty, regardless of who the players are, right? So the reality is the system.
Yeah.
Okay, the system that each party has, they mimic each other. There's no differential. Says that well, first of all, we have a monarchy. That's the first thing. We have a monarchy, and then we pretend that we have a democracy, and the democracy that we have is that basically two people fighting to be king, and
it's
these
not
are
that simple.
Well, it is simple. and the two people
it's not that simple.
Well, you can say what you wish. This is what the status. This is what I think people feel. That two people are fighting for this position, and that the system is set up so that these two people can choose who is on their team and on your team, as opposed to the people choosing.
At the end of the day, the people choose.
No, you see, you rushed that one because you don't want me to respond to that.
No,
they don't choose.
The people choose.
Tell me how they choose.
The people choose. You can either have the proletariat, the communists, the socialists, the Zionists, the Marxists the democratic socialists
Right.
or the so-called democracy.
Right.
You can have Cuba, or you can have Red China, or you can have Russia, or you can have the United
Extremes.
States, or you can
Right.
have the Bahamas or the United
How
Kingdom.
do the people in the Bahamas choose?
I am talking about systems. It doesn't matter what system you use,
Uh-huh.
as long as you have, and the system could be as empirical and as clinical and scientific as you like,
Mm-hmm.
as long as you bring the human element in a system,
Oh yeah, it's got to be.
then all of the variables that are endemic in human beings will manifest themselves.
right. I agree.
And that is where the system becomes slave to the human beings. And so you have
I think
in the
human beings
Bahamas-
become slave to the system.
well, you and I take different paths. You have the
It should be slave to the human beings.
You have the Westminster system, and you see all the faults wrong with it, and there are lots of faults. But you transition over to America and you look at the federal system, which they call pure democracy, and you don't want to get bogged down in the Senate and the House of Representatives against the White House.
I wanna
We're
ask you
trying
something.
to get policy passing. They call it checks and balances. We go in Parliament and we vote. If we have the numbers, you get your policy. You go there, you have your numbers or you don't have your numbers, and everybody have an issue. So my point is, yes, there are systemic problems in every form of governance. And pick your poison, anyone. But as long as you have human beings in who come with whatever they come with, you're going to have a mutation
Right.
of the system and sometimes a bastardization.
Well,
of
these
the
are words I
system.
use on a daily basis. But
Okay.
here's what I'm saying to you:
Okay.
shouldn't you, as leaders of national leaders who have the ultimate desire to see the country grow, you're thrust into these positions, be crafting a scenario? See, because one of the things we've done, and we do it in everything we do, is we've limited ourselves to what exists. And so we feel like, oh, you got to get the Perrier or the Aquapana, but you can't make your own water. Okay? The reality is you can make your own water. So can we not, as a country, they did it in other places, why can't we cause our system to evolve? We don't seem to think on that line. We just saying, oh, we got to, we can cause our system to evolve, and we can cause our system to be responsive.
Well, you're talking about evolution of the system, and what we are operating with is a document called the Constitution. It's the Supreme,
But your party isn't subject to that Constitution.
It's the Supreme. Well, I know you're being controversial, but I'll come to
Well,
that.
no party is. No party is subject to that Constitution.
It's the supreme law of the land.
Right.
It governs every other law. Every other law, statute law, common law, is subjected to the supreme law of the land. In recent times, I would say over the last 25 years, there have been genuine attempts to modulate and moderate the system by attempting to amend the Constitution. Do you know what it is to amend a Constitution? Because the very people who you are attempting to amend, or the groups or subgroups that you're attempting to amend the Constitution, the benefits are the very one who are skeptical. For example, the referendum on gender equality. Do you realize that 52% of the women voted no? And 48% of the men voted no. Do you realize that more women voted against gender equality than men when the poll was conducted? Okay. In other words, it takes maybe even a generation, but it takes a long time to prepare people.
Got it. I got it.
Okay.
But I'm going to ask you this question. I'm not a lawyer. You're a lawyer. Your wife is a lawyer. Everyone's a lawyer except me. Let me ask you a question, and Erica and Kendrick. Let me ask you a question. Where does the Constitution address parties?
An article. No, the Constitution
does not
address parties.
It does not.
No,
it was a trick question.
Yeah,
it does not.
No, it
so
does not.
here's the thing. Okay, the Constitution. The Constitution actually does not address parties in the Bahamas. It does not address parties in the United States.
It says,
in fact,
we the people. In the United
in fact,
States,
if you look at the Constitution of the United States, on the back it's signed by people from states, not by party. And scholars actually figured out that parties would be the undoing of the system. I'm asking you, this is way off, but it's good. It's fun. You having fun?
I'm having fun.
Okay.
I'm having fun.
It's
I'm having
because
fun.
this is how we have to start thinking, because the Constitution doesn't determine how the PLP runs its business or the FNM runs its business. You can determine that. And I predict, Sidney Colley, that the party that breaks out of its existing mode has nothing to do with the Constitution, that breaks out of it. And that's what that man, your boy, Trump, did. He broke out of that. I'm with y'all.
No, he didn't.
No, he went through the system, but
And he came right. He came full circle.
Yeah, but I'm saying.
And now he's
but
bowing
wait
and
to see-
scraping to the
well,
system.
well, wait and see. We'll wait and
Yeah,
see.
we'll
Wait and see
about
on that
that.
before we do that.
Yeah.
But the point I'm making is, at least that attempt was made, right? We are not making that attempt, and I'm saying
I
that
am
the party.
not going to advance an argument against your thesis.
Okay, my
Your
thesis.
statement. I'm not.
University of Bahamas. Yeah.
I am not going to
Yeah.
advance an
You know what I'm
argument.
saying conceptually.
Yeah, but there is something to what you're saying.
Yeah.
But it's fraught with danger.
Oh, of course it is. But look at the danger we are in now.
Historically, the PLP
Uh-huh.
was the first
Party.
party.
Right.
If you use the classical definition of party.
Uh-huh.
But a group of men called the Bay Street Boys got themselves together
Right.
without an umbrella of a party.
Right.
And they, in my view, did more damage
And I'm not disagreeing. Here's what I'm
than
the
a
party.
group of men that came together and called themselves the PLP.
Right. So
Yeah.
what the point I'm making you is, as I think we're going to have parties for a long time. I'm not talking about disbanding the concept of the party. I'm talking about the concept of how you manage the party. That's what I'm talking about.
I get that.
Okay.
I get that.
And the party that breaks out and says this is how, and I've heard the FNM say things like they're going to have primary for candidates, they're going to have term limits, they're going to have independent officer, the prime minister won't be a minister in cabinet, all these things. These are evolutions. By the way, add into that local government, meaningful local government, so that you decentralize, so we don't have a monarchy. Okay, because we have a monarchy.
Yeah, but
you
no,
convince
I
me all you
understand
want.
what you mean. The local government gives the ordinary person in his immediate area an opportunity to participate. We call it participatory democracy. And the monarchy is somebody, the Queen
Yeah.
Elizabeth, is somebody in the stratosphere somewhere over yonder who has a titular eye
Well,
looking
I'm
over
actually
us.
going into real monarchy. We ain't in titular monarchy world. We in real monarchy. But
okay.
Nicolette Bethel, one of my favorite people, and my cousin, who
Good woman.
made a very interesting comment sitting right in that chair, and that is this country needs more government, because the reality is government is concentrated in a very small circle. Okay, we don't have participation. Long Island, Abaco, Eleuthera, Cat Island, these people should be determining their own fate, but instead they're waiting for goods and things from the king, and so that's why we don't have this. That's why it's a rebellion. You
Well,
literally,
in 1997, the FNM instituted local government in the Family Island. And the objective of that Family Island local government was to bring more government into the lives
More government.
of more government
That's right.
into the lives of the ordinary person. More government in the sense that it's less concentration in a group
at
of
the top.
men pushing things down to the
Right.
bottom. So
they
the
know their
pyramid-
interests better than we
the
do.
base of the pyramid was theoretically supposed to
Right,
get
right.
larger, and the peak of the pyramid is supposed to get smaller.
But essentially, it's a kind of a deballed. Were you in charge of local government at one time?
Yes, I was a minister of local government, and I wrote a paper.
You see, you notice I doing this?
No, I wrote
What
a
happened?
paper. I wrote a paper in my last year, supported by the professionals, on a model for local government for New Providence. I visited India, New Delhi, and Calcutta, and I said, and I believe I'm right in my thinking, that if the world's largest democracy 1.6 billion people or thereabouts, can have local government in a city of 13 million people. Why is the Bahamas government afraid to bring local government
Do you want me to tell you why?
to a little island that has less than 250,000
Do you want me to tell you
people?
why? Or you already
Yes,
know
no,
the answer?
I'm interested in why.
Yeah,
Why?
because the king doesn't give things away like that. Okay? It doesn't happen. In king worlds, it doesn't happen.
It's going to happen.
Well, it has to happen.
It's gonna
anyway,
happen.
listen, Sydney, it's been a pleasure. We got to have you back.
Yeah,
man.
absolutely.
Okay? And then we're going to
Absolutely.
call
We've
you.
only just scratched
yeah,
the
man.
surface,
It's good.
yeah.
And see, this is the kind of conversation we should be having because it gets to the deep of how we should be, the depth of how we should be thinking.
Well,
as opposed-
you are advanced provocateur. You know
Let's
how
do
to
it,
get
man.
you bring it out. You know how to bring it out. But thank you so much for having me, and I'm
and-
looking forward to coming back.
Okay, well, listen, thank you, Sidney Cawley, chairman of the Free National Movement. Erika, you're going to be here for a while because, our friend Rogan Smith is, she's had a little surgery. And so, you're here with Kendrick and I for the next couple of days.
Okay,
All right?
all right.
Thank you, Sidney.
Thank you.
All right,
Have
man.
a pleasant
Take
evening.
care.
Bye-bye.